Clark County citizens, you need to slow down, get off your phones, wear your seatbelts, stop running red lights. Remember, save a life, even if it's yours.
Piling up on our roadways. Tonight we explore what can be done to stop it with families whose lives have been irrevocably changed and the law enforcement charged with cleaning up the mess. This is Speed Kills. Thank you for joining us for Speed Kills. I'm Heather Mills. We're here at the Nevada State Police Traffic Management Center. The reason for that is because Southern Nevada has seen a huge spike in traffic-related deaths this past year. We're trying to change that. We're trying to find out why and maybe move the needle. We're joining us tonight, some very special people. Metro Deputy Chief Chris Holmes, along with Major from Nevada State Police, Kevin Honey, and two people whose lives have been forever changed, Joan Anderson and Mark Vobis. First, let's go ahead and hear their story.
Have you had anything to drink tonight?
Yeah. A few shots of tequila. Nothing crazy.
It's June of 2021. Andrew Rodriguez has no license and is drunk behind the wheel of a rented Lamborghini, speeding at 141 miles an hour.
Do I want this man to pay? You bet, if it's the last breath in my body.
Holy
Rodriguez slams into 58-year-old Walter Anderson, known as Jay, killing him in a scene that looked more like an explosion than a crash.
An accident is going 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour in a 45 and hitting somebody. That's an accident. Murdering someone is exactly what you did.
Rodriguez takes a plea deal that sends him to prison for 6 years.
I'm angry that my family has to deal with this.
Mark Vobis was riding his bike in Henderson September 11th, 2022. It's 21 years to the day when he was in New York when planes struck the Twin Towers, when suddenly...
We got a biker that was hit by a car. He's non-responsive. There's blood everywhere.
Next thing I know, I woke up. I was in a Kindred hospital, I guess. And that was in October.
The crash leaving him with a traumatic brain injury, a spinal cord injury, and a long road ahead. Before the crash, Vobis was active, and now he's mainly in a wheelchair and learning to walk again. The driver has never been caught.
Is there the possibility, because of the entire situation, that you would not be able to solve this?
There is a possibility, but we don't want to give up hope.
So far in 2024, deaths on Nevada roads have soared. In Clark County, more than 106, up more than 51% compared to this time last year. Reckless driving and pedestrians crossing when and where they're not supposed to have become the leading causes this year. Let's go ahead and start here with a question for you, Deputy Chief Holmes. Metro's been putting out a lot of videos that are graphic showing the aftermath of these collisions. Is that kind of a new tactic? Is it working? What's the idea behind it?
It's a tactic that we've used in the past that we brought back. The sheriff's big thing is injecting humanity in everything that we are doing. And it's truly to bring light as to what is going on out there on our roadways and the repercussions that can occur. One of our approach that we're looking at, and we're really trying to push it within our organization into the community, is that a traffic death is no different than a homicide. Someone lost their lives. An innocent person lost their lives as a result of somebody else's actions. We want to show the realities of what can happen if people drive recklessly and don't obey our traffic laws. It could be possibly in an accident like this, and this is actually what can happen to a vehicle, and to show them the repercussions of that, to try to modify and change their behavior. As to if it's working, time will tell. As you know, we are up unfortunately in our fatal accidents. And each one of those numbers is not a number, it's a person, it's a life that's lost. Weighs heavily on me personally, weighs heavily on our organization, and it weighs heavily on everyone in this community that drives. So we just really try to bring that awareness out to everyone. Just slow down, pay attention to our laws.
With those realistic videos. Major Honey, and I kind of want to talk about that as well. Other countries have done this for a long time. I'm thinking Ireland, Scotland, parts of Europe, very graphic videos. And anecdotally, they appear to work. In Ireland, when they started doing it, the numbers declined for about 2 decades. So is that something that we could see from your team?
Ultimately, probably yes. We don't have the access to some of the cameras and stuff that Las Vegas Metro does, but I think with the the kids now are so desensitized to some of these things, and the way to reach them is through videos and seeing these graphic images. Remember when I was young, I didn't sleep the night before we watched Red Asphalt in driver training. These kids are now conditioned, and this is how you communicate to the newer, to the younger generation, is through video. So I applaud, and I'm looking forward to seeing if that approach actually does start to show a decrease in the numbers.
And so, Joan, I have to ask you, because as a victim, a family member was killed, your brother was killed. Is it tough for people in your shoes to watch a really graphic video of a wreck?
It is. But in the same, thank you. I just got to get it off and then I'll be fine. It is, but for me, and it's kind of really sick, and my family says the same thing. Opposed to me with my brother's death, my sister and I, we walked right when we heard. We walked the street. We saw the orange outlines. For me, I think, just like they said, I think the graphic pictures and videos that are out there, in a way, I feel like, yes, it could deter people, but I also think that, in my opinion, the laws need to apply to whether you're drinking and get behind a car or you take a gun and you shoot someone. That's just my opinion. So the videos, I think, definitely help, but I don't think it's helping my case with you're drinking and you're driving and you're carrying on and you're going from one place to another and you're speeding. I mean, the cops can't be everywhere. That's just my opinion.
Well, so to that point, before we start talking about potential changes in laws, Mark, I want to talk to you a little bit. People are choosing to get behind the wheel. It's not a right, it is a choice. We have that privilege to drive, but people are choosing to do so when they shouldn't be. How do we go about changing hearts and minds? How do we change that culture?
Well, I think that you just said it. It's culture. So I was hit on a Sunday night at around 8 o'clock. It was the first Sunday of professional football in 2022. I was on St. Rose Parkway. Nobody saw anything. The guy who saw me laying in the ditch after I was hit was actually trying to make a turn to go east and saw me to the west of him. Saw my bike laying there with the lights flashing. I mean, the culture has to change. We have to hold each other responsible as a community and not let people do this, not let your family members do it, not let your friends do it. And if you see something, say something. Call and report it. Someone driving erratically or someone driving speeding, report it, because you might only save, somebody's life. It might be their life. It might be their life and their family's trauma, right? So people don't want to, I don't want to get involved, right? I don't want to be a rat. Well, the ripple effect of what I've gone through and what Joan has gone through is I couldn't even begin to tell you how far that ripple goes. And one phone call can maybe change that.
And that's one thing, just to build on what you said, sir, is on our videos that we push, we end it with save a life, even if it's your own. And that's a term we want to get out there to the community, so that you do put that little bit of second thought. Hey, maybe I'm not going to speed on the way home today, or hey, maybe I'm not going to go drinking and drive. I'm going to get an Uber. And as far as the cultural changes, it's insane. The opportunities that we have nowadays. It's 2024. Uber, Lyft, RTC. There's still cabs. There's hundreds and hundreds of methods you can get around and not have to drive yourself. So we really want to make sure that we're pushing that message out to people.
There's so many options. We're just not using it because our culture.
I think so.
Joan, I want to target this to you because your brother was killed by a man who was in a rented Lamborghini going 141 miles an hour and then was given 6 years after taking a plea deal. So is punishment part of the issue? What do you think? Does punishment need to be tougher, harsher?
Yes, I strongly believe that. And that's what I said in court. And we were not given, my family and I were not given the opportunity to talk about this plea deal that he had. No matter, the DA can tell me yes and no, but no, we were not. We were called and told after the fact. So if I go out and I think, okay, I'm gonna get, if I get into an accident, I kill someone, I'm gonna be out. Good behavior, I'm gonna get out. Make the laws stricter, make them stick, you know? The police can only do what they can do. We have to enforce, we have to make sure that the people that are, I mean, he said it right on TV. I killed someone. What else do you need?
You both have been out on the streets. You've been that first responder, first on the scene. What do you think?
I'll tell you that I did traffic enforcement for 8 years, and things that I saw still haunt me. Recently, as the deputy chief in charge of our tourist safety division, which encompasses traffic, the incident that occurred on Boulder Highway, where that family was waiting for a bus and someone who was impaired went the wrong way on Boulder Highway and crashed into a bus stop. You know, unfortunately, tragically killing 3 people, a family destroyed. You know, we're all voters. We all vote, and that's how laws are changed, is through voting. We can, as law enforcement, we can only do so much. Our job is to make sure that what we do is the best, that we have a solid case, that there's nothing that can get a hole punched through it or have a mistake to allow someone that killed somebody to get off. Then it moves down through the judicial system for the next step to make sure that they do their job. Ultimately, it's, as voters, that's something that we should look at, and if we want tougher laws, to petition our elected officials to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is one thing. I know the Sheriff McMahill, has talked about red light cameras. Obviously, that has to go through the legislature. Some laws have to change. Major Honey, is that something, I mean, the red light cameras, we're seeing these constant red light runners here in the Valley.
Yeah, so currently we don't have the ability to take enforcement action off of a red light camera, but they're being utilized throughout the Valley just to develop data points and to find out where those high-risk intersections are. And we don't have speed cameras, but we do have red light cameras. And the numbers of red light runners are staggering. I know that the deputy chief has seen those numbers. With our friends at our partners at RTC Fast, we determined in our jurisdiction, 215 Beltway and Green Valley, they showed the month of February there were over 14,000 people running red lights in just one intersection in 1 month.
February 19th of this year, we implemented our fatal reduction plan. And what that basically did was we took data as to where we were seeing high volumes of accidents, and then we basically deployed resources there. Since that time, we've written over 14,500 citations. The majority of those citations are speeding, either 1 to 10 over or 11 to 21. And then inside that mix is a moving violation, which happens to be a serious accident causing violation and sometimes resulting in fatalities, is running red lights.
So having the video helps. You guys are hitting areas that are known in the Valley to be trouble spots. Mark, it can't change what happened, but if there was a camera that was able to capture the person who hit you and drove off.
Well, you know, I still have a hard time with that. The fact, you know, I was in law enforcement for 22 years, and I've done my share of, you know, tracking stuff down by camera. It's not the easiest thing by any means, okay? But when you have different cameras in different spots, you can fill in some blanks, okay? You can really put together a footprint. The fact that nothing ever came of any video, any LPRs, and it amazes me. Like, did they come from a spaceship, hit me, and then go up on a spaceship? I don't get it. And nobody's saying anything or saying anything. So yeah, cameras would help.
Our cars are smart, right? We have all these bells and whistles, things that, it drives itself. Now it does this, that, and the other thing. It seems to me when I'm out on the road, a lot of times I see the cell phone. Well, that's still illegal, but I see the cell phone in the hands. The car will take care of itself. Are you guys still writing a lot of tickets? I mean, you're on the Valley roads. Or is cell phone use, is that a major contributing factor?
Yes, and everyone in this community is guilty of it. As you mentioned, cars are smarter. There's more bells and whistles, and him and I are going to hit on this, but that means more distractions. There's so much more going on inside a vehicle now than there was 10, 15, 20 years ago. But yes, we see it all the time. People driving with cell phones in their hands. I have 2 teenage daughters that drive now. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves of them, and truly try to ingrain into their habits is to not. And if I happen to pick my cell phone up while I'm driving, my 2 daughters and my wife are quick to tell me, put your phone down. I'm like, oh, you're right, I'm sorry. But people get lost in them. Sure. You totally get lost in the phone and you're not paying attention. And the next thing you know, there's a person in front of you or a car stopped.
Anything in that car that takes your attention away from driving, you are now under the influence of. So you can be under the influence of that cell phone. You can be under the influence of friends or backseat passengers. Driving is multitasking at a very high level in this city, and it requires 100% of your attention. So from us to everybody listening, please return that cell phone call when you get there. The time to figure out where you're going on your maps is probably before you leave your house. It's not that important that you return that text right then. It can wait 3 minutes or 5 minutes till you're at a stop sign, in which case we'll still write you, but get off the freeway, get off. When your car is moving, put that cell phone down.
We're going to take a quick break. We have lots more to dive into here, kind of some of the safety features and things that we can change. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to our special Speed Kills. There's so much here that we have to talk about, and we've been talking a lot about a culture shift. We have seen a spike in fatal crashes, and some of that spike is also pedestrians on our roadways here in Las Vegas. People are crossing the street, they're walking. Like you said, it's a fun city, you want to be out, but we've seen that number increase. Drivers aren't paying attention, pedestrians maybe aren't. Well, what can we do?
So pedestrian enforcement is obviously, we've seen a very large spike in our pedestrian-related fatalities. Unfortunately, tragically, on St. Rose Parkway in our jurisdiction, our very first traffic fatality was a pedestrian that was running across 6 lanes of traffic while it was in a rainstorm. I actually remember that evening that I was coming home from work. We have to get that message out to have pedestrians obey traffic laws. They need to use crosswalks, marked crosswalks. Another message we're really working on is enforcing vehicles that violate the right-of-way of pedestrians. So when cars come up to the intersection and the walk sign says to walk, if anyone violates that and doesn't allow that to happen, and they run the red light or fail to yield to kids in a crosswalk or any pedestrian in a crosswalk, we're targeting those individuals, and we will stop and we will write you citations.
Our pedestrian crashes are a little different in that we don't have a lot of intersections in our jurisdiction, but we do have, we tragically lost 2 state troopers who were out of their car and considered pedestrians. So one of the things that we're focusing on and doubling down on our message is the move over law, which requires you to actually move over a lane upon the approach of an emergency vehicle, a tow truck, those kind of things. And we encourage people, anytime you see somebody on that shoulder, to move over that lane, whether it's just a disabled motorist, somebody that's run out of gas or has a flat tire. But we're seeing all too often that person will be out of their car to assess the damage on their car or to fix a flat tire, and they're struck by a motorist passing by.
Joan, let me ask you, because although your brother wasn't a pedestrian, he was on a moped, much like Mark on a bike. Both of those things, even motorcycles, you know, you see them and then you see the big giant boat vehicle driving down the roadway. Was that ever a concern for you? And your brother was just coming home for work.
Yeah. For me, you guys were great. But anyway, for me, when I was talking to the other side, Andrew's people, he wanted to say that, well, my brother shouldn't have been on the road. Okay, he was turning off of a street onto Russell. So was he supposed to go all the way to the sidewalk? He's turning when he got hit. You know, my brother, like you said, he wasn't a pedestrian, but he was coming home from work, 11:50 at night, and he was riding his moped. No competition for a Lamborghini going 141.
Mark, you were on a bicycle. You were an avid bike rider. What did you see?
People say, oh, you're crazy. You should be on the bike path. Well, the bicycle that I rode, you can't ride on the bike path because it's not meant for that. It's meant for the road. If I'm riding on a road and it has no bike lane, guess what? One whole lane is mine. I'm entitled to that lane by law. You know, I always try to ride somewhere with a dedicated bike lane. The bigger, the better. But, I mean, St. Rose, to get into that bike lane to where I was, I mean, it's about 8 foot wide, 6 foot wide bike lane. So I see people on those e-bikes and bikes, and they think it's safer to ride against traffic, and that's gonna get somebody killed. So many times I see people riding across the street at a light, and someone's turning, and they don't bother to look both ways, and the person on the bike can get hit because they're coming from the wrong way, and the person in the car is not looking that way.
Our number one complaint is we don't write enough speeding tickets. Our number two complaint, very close, is why did you write me a speeding ticket? So if we would just slow down, obviously the faster we're going, the less reaction time we have to make decisions behind the wheel. And if we could slow down and not follow closely, not follow too close, those two are two crash-causing violations.
And when I got back into town and I crossed over the Hoover Dam and I was coming across, dropping down into the valley, it was like a light switch. Everyone was in a hurry again. Everyone was speeding and cutting people off, driving, following too close. The major and I talked, it's impatient. And we all use these roads. That's one thing that we really have to drive the message is everyone in this community traverses on our roadways. Our families are out there. Our friends are out there. Our brothers are coming home from work. I'm just going out to go ride my bicycle to get some exercise. You know, preach it, get the word out there, because unless we all change our behavior, we're not going to have the impact I think that we're all looking for.
And that's a key right there. We have to change the culture, and that takes every single one of us.
And so, parents, send your kids a message. They're mimicking what they see you do. So if you're telling them, put your cell phone away, but yet when you're taking them to school or you're taking them to the grocery store, you have your cell phone out, you're not reinforcing that message.
So if you can see this and hear this, you don't want to have your family wind up like my family or Joan's family. The trauma, you just don't want that to happen to anybody that you know.